Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Logistics Executive TV. I'm joined today by a young lady who is well known to me actually over quite a few years, and she is the global CEO of an international transformation and growth business, and her name is Lauren Ryder. Lauren, so good to see you again.
Great to see you, Kim. Thanks for having me on.
So leading edge, Lauren, we've managed to touch base, I think, and did a quick interview, will be well over 12 months ago now. You're an Australian-based company. We first met well over 15, 20 years ago, I guess, in New Zealand, in Australia. And you were expanding in Australia at that time. But since then, I've seen you in different parts of the world. And you're expanding into the Middle East. We'll talk about that a bit later. But perhaps you can talk to us a little bit about the unique value proposition that Leading Edge provides to the world.
Absolutely. So, look, at Leading Edge Global, what we do is we help companies grow to become market leaders. I started the business, over 10 years ago now, and we specialized in digital transformation and change. And really what we were doing at that stage was helping companies to implement and adopt new technology systems and software. And as time went on, we found that the technology will always work, but it was actually the people that were always the challenge. And what we found was what we were really good at was engaging with stakeholders and actually driving the change through the business. And so what happened over time was that our clients would ask them to help us with their people issues, things like leadership and culture and their restructures. And, really the goal was around employee engagement and retention. And so over time, we opened a division about leadership development. So in addition to running the technology projects, we also run change programs to improve leadership capability across organizations.
Okay, awesome. And you seem to be, as I mentioned before, I ran into you we managed to get a quick chat together at a hotel here in Dubai. I understand you were in London a couple of days before that at a client event, and just before that you were in Saudi Arabia. Tell us about the travels and the sort of expansion that you're undergoing at the moment.
Yeah, look, about 12 years ago, I kind of had this feeling that Australia was a bit challenged in the growth department. And I thought, well, I kind of want to go where things are happening. So I jumped on a plane and I went to the Middle East because I heard there was things happening. So I went to Dubai and I went to Saudi Arabia. And indeed, there were things happening there. So I ended up setting up my business in Dubai last year. I've been across to the Middle East a number of times since then to continue to grow the business. So we now have clients in Dubai, as you say, in London, we go there. And actually next week we are launching in Singapore. So we'll be there the week of the 22nd of July.
Fantastic. Now, one of the things that I obviously follow you on LinkedIn, and you are really a speaker as well, presenter at global events around development, transformation within mainly tier one organizations, from what I can see. So kudos to you guys for that. Tell us a little bit about the event that's taking place this week up in, I think, Singapore, is it?
That's right. So the event, it's for leaders in the data center industry. It's an executive breakfast, and we are talking about the future of the workforce. So specifically in their industry, they have some challenges around things like skills shortages. I think they're going to be about 300,000 people short. They've got high turnover. They've got all sorts of challenges, and a lot of the businesses aren't looking forward. And so what I'm going to be doing is it's a part keynote, but a part workshop where we're actually going to discuss how to actually fix some of these challenges and be future focused on their workforce.
Okay, awesome. So I see, when I see the presentations that you put up on LinkedIn, and thanks so much for sharing that, because I think there's quite a big segue between what you're doing in the growth and development and personnel development, executive development area, and of course what we do in executive search and the consulting side. And we're also geographically quite aligned in a number of places as well. Talk to me about some of the big issues that clients are bringing to you around workforce challenges currently. I mean, we're living in such dynamic times. There's massive upheavals going on economically, socially, geopolitically. What are your major clients, your bigger tier ones, bringing to you in terms of the challenges around workforce, and how are you managing to help them out with that?
Yeah, well, look, the ones that I spoke about for data center are actually similar. It's just, when we talk about skills shortage, it's what skills we're short of. Globally, where we're actually short is all around digital and technology. And that's a big challenge that people are facing. High turnover rates is actually impacting businesses. It started with that great resignation that we heard all about, but the challenge is it hasn't actually stopped, and people are leaving looking sort of for better opportunities and more money. Another big challenge that we're finding is low employee engagement scores. And employees at the moment, they kind of have these really high expectations of what their employer should give to them. They want work-life balance, and they want purpose-driven work, and they want more career development opportunities. And what we're finding is a lot of companies aren't really ready to be able to provide that. There's kind of this balance of cost and benefit, but employees are demanding it. And I think the final one, which is one that you will see me speaking a lot about, is this growing emphasis on diversity and inclusion. And that's actually being driven by two big forces. So we have ESG on one hand, where it's actually mandated for these big global companies to have a more inclusive workplace. But at the same time, the employees are actually demanding it. They want to feel like they belong in the place that they work. They want to see people who look like them.
That's right.
What we have is a huge impact overall to these businesses, because what they find is they have a lot of trouble both recruiting for new people and then retaining employees. And as you would know, Kim, it's actually a lot more expensive to recruit a new employee than it is to retain them. And I mean, something like 75 to 150% of their annual salary it takes to replace them. So it's a huge impact on businesses for not addressing these issues.
Yeah, we, as you know, we do some quite a bit of research and publish that on polls on LinkedIn and other platforms. And I mean, the curve is just continuously increasing in terms of that, throwing back to what you were talking about work-life balance completely outstripping the traditional ways of attracting and retaining people with salaries. I mean, let's be honest, competitive salaries are very important and will continue to be so, overall remuneration packages, but that flexibility is just, the requirement for flexibility is massive. And the ability to be able to leverage into doing different things, not only inside the business, but outside the business as well. Now, you've become a bit of a specialist over the years as well, of course, and well before it became a sexy thing about AI. You've been talking about machine learning for several years now, and I know you've got a number of tools which you use inside the business. Give us a bit of an idea of how you're using AI and machine learning in the activities that you're developing with clients and some of the tools that you're using there.
Yeah, so when we talk about AI, our approach is around leadership in the age of AI. So we come in with businesses and actually help them to look at what are the right tools that we should be using. And the interesting thing is we have a lot of businesses who say, we have this tool, we have Microsoft, so should we use Copilot? Or we're on AWS servers, should we use the Amazon AI tool? And I say, stop. We are going way too far down the rabbit hole. So what we work with them is their business strategy and aligning the technology to deliver onto their business strategy. We talk about how they need to structure their organization, what skills they need for the future, who is going to own it. It's really those business decisions. As we say, the technology will work. It's how we implement it and how we get businesses to adopt it.
Okay. Interesting. Are there any particular industries where your sort of transformation leadership is being applied, or are you really quite agnostic and right across the board?
We are completely agnostic. However, we have fallen into a few industries over time. Started off our life in financial services, as many change businesses did. But over time, we found industries such as telecommunications, um, and construction industry. Basically, why we found those to be really great was we would go in there to help them, and because their maturity was pretty low when we arrived, and we were able to raise that maturity. We would leave and they would say, "Thank you so much. You have made such a massive difference." And, as a consultant, that's kind of all we need. We really just want to hear a thank you, and we're doing our job better now. So those industries tended to be ones that we worked well in. Now, what's really interesting is that if you look at what a data center is, it is construction. It is electricity. It is telco. It's all of these things together, and facilities management. And as I said, these are the industries that we were working in. So data centers just made sense as a transition. And the challenges that they're facing, they are big. I mean, when we look at things like diversity in their industry, it's something like 8% women globally, but it's also 5% African American, 0.02% Indigenous. So really, we're looking at areas like age and culture and religion, and it is a really undiverse industry. But we know that if we are diverse, we become more innovative, and innovative companies make more money. And so it's in a business's best interest to address these challenges. And so me coming in as a specialist in this area is quite a unique talent that I bring there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And just throwing back to what you mentioned before about your background, of course, I was just having a quick scan on LinkedIn while you were talking then. Of course, you'd spent 20 years in some of the biggest financial institutions in Australia, cutting your teeth on development and transformation. So it doesn't surprise me at all that you're quite widespread in terms of the industries that you're getting into. So look, just to wrap up, Lauren, I'm really interested to know, I mean, we do a lot of work with executive coaching, with our executive search business, one thing and another. And of course, you can't manage what you can't measure. And we've got a number of management tools to get the outcomes, to make sure that we're delivering genuine value on the executive coaching in particular. For yourself and the transformation business and the development work that you're doing with a lot of your customers, what sort of measurements do you find that your clients are looking for, and are you delivering for them? How are you going around with how you go about the delivering of the measurement tools?
It's such an interesting question, because most people ask me, "Oh, there's no way you can measure it. How can we do this? I won't get an ROI." And I say that's absolutely untrue. We absolutely can measure. The challenge is when we're looking at people, it takes time to capture. So it can be 12 months before we actually know the impact. So if we're talking, we'll just take the topic of employee experience. So, the most obvious is an employee engagement score. So we'll come into an organization and we will do an employee engagement survey if they haven't done one already. And then, we can do it quarterly or annually, and we can see what the recommendations actually did and whether they brought up scores in those areas. We also, customers do NPS scores, Net Promoter Scores. You can actually do that for employees as well. We look at things like turnover rates, both voluntary and involuntary. We look at retention rates. We look at particularly retention rates for high performers and how we're keeping them on board. We look at internal promotion rates, and that's a really fun one, particularly when we do programs like the Emerging Leaders Program, or when we do mid-level management leader training, because then that's a lot easier for us to measure pretty quickly, because they get their skills and then they often will get promoted right away. So yeah, there's lots and lots of different ways we can measure, and it really is just depending on where the challenges of the business sit.
Brilliant. Hey, listen, we'll share. Thanks so much for sharing with us. It's great to catch up with you again, to see how the business has flourished, how you've expanded, not only in terms of your service offering, but also the geo areas that you're going into, the geographies that you're getting into now, big growth areas, of course, and really looking forward to keeping in touch and finding out how things are going. Let us know where people can get hold of you, Lauren.
I am on LinkedIn. The easiest way to find me, just look up Lauren Ryder.
Yeah, fantastic. And that's Ryder with a Ryder, as people can see up here. And also they can get hold of you on the website, which we can show up here as well. And as I say, we really look forward to seeing how the travels go and the development, especially in some of the emerging markets that you're working on. Lauren Ryder, CEO of Leading Edge. Fantastic to catch up, and we'll see you again in the near future.
Thanks, Kim. Great to be on.